The $40,000 Secret, a mother's devastating revenge. I never told my son I earned $40,000 every single month. He thought I was just another struggling parent, barely getting by. So when his wealthy in-laws invited me to dinner at the city's most exclusive restaurant, I made a choice that would shatter their world forever. I walked in dressed like a woman who had nothing. And what happened next? They never saw it coming. Let me take you back to understand how everything led to that devastating moment. My name is Alara, and for 35 years, my son Marcus saw me as ordinary. Just another tired office worker coming home late, cooking whatever was affordable, living in the same modest apartment year after year. He assumed I was a secretary, maybe doing filing work, something simple, something forgettable. And I never corrected him, because here's what Marcus didn't know. I was a senior executive at a multinational corporation. For nearly 20 years, I'd been signing million-dollar contracts and making decisions that affected thousands of lives. $40,000 deposited into my account every month. Almost $10 million earned over my career. But you'd never know it by looking at me. Same worn leather handbag until it fell apart. Clothes from discount stores. Cooking at home. Saving everything. Investing silently. Because true power doesn't need to announce itself. True power simply observes. Then came that Tuesday afternoon phone call that changed everything. Marcus's voice sounded nervous, like when he was a child caught doing something wrong. His wife Simone's parents were visiting from overseas for the first time. They wanted to meet me over dinner at an upscale restaurant, but something in his tone made my stomach turn. "Do they know anything about me?" I asked calmly. Silence. Then he stammered the words that cut through me like ice. "I told them you work in an office, that you live alone, that you're simple. That you don't have much." There it was, that word, simple, as if my entire existence could be reduced to something he needed to apologize for. And in that moment, I made a decision. If my son thought I was poor, if these people were coming ready to judge me, then I would give them exactly what they expected. I would become the broken, desperate mother they imagined. I wanted to see their true faces when they thought they were dealing with someone who had nothing, because my instinct told me everything I needed to know about Simone's family. And my instinct never fails. Saturday arrived. I stood in front of my mirror, deliberately choosing the worst outfit I owned, a shapeless gray dress, wrinkled and faded from years of neglect, old scuffed shoes with worn heels, no jewelry, no watch. I pulled my hair into a messy ponytail and grabbed a faded canvas tote bag. I looked like life had beaten me down, like someone forgettable, someone they could dismiss. Perfect. The taxi dropped me in front of the restaurant. Warm amber lighting spilled onto the sidewalk, a doorman in white gloves. Elegant couples gliding through the entrance, the kind of place where menus don't list prices because if you have to ask, you don't belong. I took a deep breath, crossed the threshold, and there they were. Marcus stood anxiously in a dark suit, looking uncomfortable. Beside him was Simone, in a tailored cream dress with gold accents, her expression tense, almost embarrassed as she watched me approach. And then I saw them. Simone's parents sat at the table, like royalty, awaiting subjects. Veronica wore an emerald green dress covered in sequins, jewels dripping from her neck, wrists, and fingers, her dark hair pulled back in an elegant bun. The kind of cold, calculated beauty designed to intimidate. Beside her sat Franklin in an immaculate gray suit, a massive watch gleaming on his wrist, his expression carved from stone. They looked like they'd stepped out of a luxury magazine, and they looked at me like I'd stepped out of their nightmare. I shuffled toward them with small, uncertain steps. Marcus's eyes widened when he saw me. I watched him swallow hard. "Mom, you came," he said, his voice tight with discomfort. Simone kissed my cheek, cold, mechanical. When she introduced me to her parents, her tone was almost apologetic, as if she was presenting a problem that needed managing. Veronica's eyes scanned my wrinkled dress, my worn shoes, my cheap bag. I saw everything in that single look, the judgment, the disdain, the disappointment. Her handshake was weak and brief. "A pleasure," she said, the words empty of meaning. No one helped me with my chair. No one asked if I was comfortable. I sat at the end of the table, the furthest from everyone, like a second-class guest who'd accidentally wandered into first class. The waiter brought elegant menus written in French. I opened mine and pretended confusion. Veronica watched me with barely concealed contempt. "Do you need help with the menu?" she asked, her smile never reaching her eyes. "Yes, please," I said in a small, timid voice. "I don't understand these words." She sighed like I was an exhausting child. "Something simple, something that doesn't cost too much. We don't want to overdo it." The phrase hung in the air like poison. Franklin nodded in agreement. Marcus looked away. Simone studied her napkin. No one said a word, and I just watched, recording everything. Veronica began her performance. She talked about their journey, their exhausting first-class flight, their $1,000 per night hotel. She mentioned the luxury car they'd rented, the expensive stores they'd visited. "We bought a few things," she said, looking directly at me. "Just a few thousand, nothing major." She wanted a reaction, wanted me to be impressed, intimidated, made to feel small. I just nodded. "How nice," I said quietly. The food arrived. Enormous plates with tiny portions, each one decorated like art. Veronica cut her steak with precision. "This costs $80, she announced. "But quality is worth paying for. One can't just eat anything, right?" Then came the question I'd been waiting for. "Ilara, what exactly do you do?" I lowered my gaze. "I work in an office. Paperwork, filing, simple things." Veronica exchanged a loaded look with Franklin. "Ah, administrative work. That's fine. All jobs are dignified, aren't they?" The condescension dripped from every word. But she wasn't finished. She leaned forward, her voice sickeningly sweet. "It must be difficult living alone at your age without much support. Does your salary cover everything?" I felt the trap closing. "Barely," I replied, "but I manage." Veronica sighed dramatically, placing her hand over her heart like she was moved by my tragedy. "Oh, Ilara, you are so brave. I admire women who struggle alone, although of course one always wishes to give our children more, to give them a better life. But everyone gives what they can." There it was, the knife twisted slowly. She was telling me I hadn't been enough for my son, that I was a poor, insufficient mother. And then she delivered the final blow. "We've always made sure Simone had the best," Veronica continued, her voice dripping with false compassion. "The finest schools, travel around the world, 4 languages. And when she married Marcus, we gave them $40,000 for their house down payment. We paid $15,000 for their honeymoon. That's just who we are." She paused, letting the numbers sink in before asking the question designed to destroy me. "And you? Were you able to help Marcus with anything when they got married?" "Not much," I replied softly, "a small gift." Veronica's smile widened. "How sweet. Every detail counts. The amount doesn't matter. It's the intention that's important." That's when the rage began to rise, cold, controlled, like a river beneath ice, but I let her continue because people like Veronica always reveal themselves when given enough rope. She swirled her $200 wine, talking about trained palates in European vineyards. Then she shifted, her expression becoming serious. Alara, I think we need to discuss something important as a family. Marcus tensed. Mom, this isn't the time. She raised her hand, silencing him. Marcus is at a new stage of his life. He has responsibilities. He deserves stability, and we believe it's important that he doesn't carry unnecessary burdens. She was calling me a burden, his mother, a burden to be eliminated. That's why, Veronica continued, Franklin and I have thought about something. We could help you financially. A small monthly allowance, something to let you live more comfortably, maybe $500 to $700 a month. She leaned forward, her eyes cold, and in exchange, we'd only ask that you respect Marcus and Simone's space. Don't seek them out so much. Don't pressure them. Give them freedom to build their life together, without interference. There it was, the offer, the bribe disguised as charity. They wanted to pay me to disappear from my son's life. Marcus exploded. Mom, that's enough. You don't have to. But Veronica cut him off. Marcus, calm down. Your mother understands. Don't you, Alara? I picked up my napkin, calmly wiped my lips, took a sip of water, let the silence grow until everyone was holding their breath. When I spoke, my voice was different. No longer timid, no longer small. Firm, clear, cold. That's a very interesting offer, Veronica. Truly generous. She smiled victoriously. But I have a few questions. How much exactly would you consider a modest monthly allowance? Well, she hesitated. We were thinking 500, maybe 700, depending. I see, I interrupted. $700 a month for me to disappear from my son's life, and you gave them $40,000 for their house? $15,000 for their honeymoon. So you've invested about $55,000 in Marcus and Simone. Veronica nodded proudly. When you love your children, you don't hold back. You're absolutely right, I said, leaning forward. When you love your children, you don't hold back. But tell me something, Veronica. Did all that money buy you respect? Did it buy you real love? Or did it just buy obedience? The atmosphere shifted. Her smile vanished. You've spent the entire evening talking about money, I continued, my voice sharp now. How much things cost, how much you've spent, how much you have. But you haven't asked even once how I am. If I'm happy, if I need company. You've only calculated my worth, and apparently I'm worth $700 a month. Veronica paled. I didn't mean. Yes, I cut her off. Yes, you did. I leaned back in my chair. No more shrinking, no more pretending. Let me ask you something, Veronica. Have you ever built something with your own two hands? Ever worked without your husband's money backing you? She stammered. I manage our investments. Businesses your husband built. Properties you bought together. Investments made with money he generated. I paused. There's a difference between managing money that already exists and creating it from nothing. The table had gone completely silent. 40 years ago, I said, I was 23. A secretary earning minimum wage, living in a rented room, eating the cheapest food I could find. Then I got pregnant. The father disappeared. My family abandoned me, and I had to decide whether to keep going or give up. Marcus stared at me. He'd never heard this story. I worked until my last day of pregnancy. Went back 2 weeks after Marcus was born, studied at night, learned English at the public library, taught myself accounting, finance, administration, climbed from secretary to assistant, assistant to coordinator, coordinator to manager, manager to director. I looked at Veronica directly. 20 years of that climb. And do you know how much I earn now? She shook her head slowly. $40,000 every month for almost 20 years. That's nearly $10 million in gross income over my career, not counting investments, not counting bonuses, not counting company stock. The silence was absolute. Marcus dropped his fork. Simone's eyes went wide. Franklin frowned in disbelief, and Veronica froze, her mouth open in shock. I am the regional director of operations for a multinational corporation, I continued. I oversee 5 countries. I manage budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars. I make decisions affecting over 10,000 employees. I sign contracts you couldn't understand without a team of lawyers. But why? Simone whispered. Why do you live in that small apartment? Why wear simple clothes? I smiled. Because I don't need to impress anyone. Because true wealth isn't shown off. Because I learned that the more you have, the less you need to prove it. I looked at Veronica. That's why I came dressed like this tonight. I wanted to see how you'd treat me if you thought I had nothing. I wanted to see your true colors. I stood up, pulling out my black platinum credit card and dropping it on the table. This is my corporate card. Unlimited limit. Pay for dinner. Consider it a gift from a broke and naive mother. Veronica stared at the card like it was a venomous snake. Money doesn't buy class, I said coldly. It doesn't buy real education or empathy. You have money, perhaps a lot, but you don't have an ounce of what truly matters. You offered to buy me off with $700 a month. Let me make you a counteroffer. I'll give you $1 million right now if you can prove you ever treated someone kindly who didn't have money. Veronica opened her mouth, closed it, said nothing. Exactly, I said. You can't, because to you, people are only worth what they have in the bank. I built wealth, you just spend it. I earned respect, you buy it. I have dignity, you have bank accounts. I picked up my canvas tote and walked toward the exit, leaving them sitting in the wreckage of their own judgment. Because that night, I didn't just expose them, I liberated myself from ever having to hide who I was again. And the most beautiful part? Their credit cards were declined when they tried to pay. Every single one. I ended up covering their $800 bill with my Centurion card, while they sat there, humiliated, drowning in the reality they'd created. Money talks. But character? Character speaks volumes. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment telling me which city you're listening from. And if you want more stories about betrayal, karma, and justice, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, remember, never judge someone by their appearance. You never know who's watching, learning, and planning their perfect moment of truth.